Today, I'm going to rank every single mainstream superpower if you had that power in real life. You see, whenever there's a character with superpowers, it's always in a show where they have to fight against a threat that they can barely beat. So for example, if the character has the powers of a god, like Superman or Goku, they always go up against the supervillain who's trying to destroy the universe or take over the earth, and they just barely end up beating him. But the thing is, in this world there aren't really any supervillains that need to be punched in the face by Superman to be defeated. So for the most part, you wouldn't even have anyone to use your powers against. Which is why I think that a lot of superpowers that are amazing would be kind of useless to have in real life. Now obviously powers like Superman or Goku would still be god tier, but let's be real, unless you change your entire life and decide to fight crime, I think most people will just use their superpowers to make their life a little bit easier. So the goal is to rank all the mainstream superpowers based on how useful they would be if you had them in real life. So let's go over what the different tiers mean. God tier is a superpower that completely changes your life, or it has a huge impact on the world. Practical tier is for powers that might not be world changing or they won't really completely change your entire life, but they sure are useful in everyday situations. Cool is something that's not really useful or helpful, but damn is it cool. The gimmick / useless tier is for powers that are kind of like a party trick and are things that you would never actually use. And the scam tier is something that you think would be good, but is actually a scam. Alright, the first one is one of the coolest superpowers out there. Super speed. One of my favorite things in superhero movies is when the guy with the super speed is running around and everything else is frozen. It's so damn cool. Like the scene in X-Men when Quicksilver is saving everyone from the explosion and the entire world is frozen around him and he's just moving around at top speed. But one thing I hate is when the character with the super speed power isn't the fastest one on the show and they always get beat by the Superman type. These characters should be unbeatable, but somehow they always end up getting caught by the villain because of plot. I don't really see how this would be useful in real life. I guess you could become the world's fastest runner or a really good athlete, but the biggest downside with this superpower is that you can't fly. Also, if you think about it, if you think in super speed as well, that means you could live so many more lifetimes compared to the normal lifespan. That'd be pretty cool. Although you would get kind of a mental torture as well. Okay, so imagine you could run at super speed, but you didn't think at super speed as well. So you start running, and you're so fast, that you just run into a wall and get squashed like a bug, because you can't think that fast. Like Quicksilver is fast enough to run from an explosion, but at the end of the movie, he gets caught by the villain because, I don't know, how the hell does that end up happening? Like he's so fast you shouldn't even be able to touch him or see him. But somehow the villain always ends up getting him, or he ends up getting shot by a bullet like in Marvel. Also the downside is that you would have to consume a ton of calories like the Flash. Can you imagine the food bill he gets? I'm gonna put this in the practical tier because it's not really a gimmick and it's still useful, but it's not like god tier. Immortality. This superpower is my worst nightmare. This is the one superpower I would hate to have. I don't think people realize how much of a curse this would be. First of all, you're immortal, so you don't die, obviously. All the people around you die, you get older. Imagine you're like 90 years old, and since you're immortal, you keep on living and you live and you live and you're just old, and you can't do anything because you're old, and you're just like a prune and you're 1,000 years old. What are you gonna do? You would eventually end up forgetting stuff as well, and in like 4 billion years when the sun turns into a red giant and swallows the earth, you'll be burnt to a crisp and be stuck in the sun for the rest of your life, which is forever. What a fucking nightmare. One of the things that would happen though is that you would become rich. Like how in Futurama, Fry became a billionaire because he invested like 4 cents 1,000 years ago, and because of compound interest that became into like $1 billion. Also, you would have to switch up your identity like every few years so you don't get experimented on. This goes in the scam tier. Regeneration. You're practically Jesus. So for this one, you probably won't need it that much unless you're out like getting chopped by swords every other day like Deadpool, but you know, who's doing that in real life? But when you do need it, it would be super helpful. So this goes in the practical tier. Healing. So healing is like regeneration, but you can do it on other people as well and not just yourself. So it's a lot better. This goes in God tier. Also, if you wanted to, you can make a ton of money with this. Or you might end up being kidnapped and being forced to heal people for the rest of your life, you know. Telekinesis. So this is the power that Matilda had. So telekinesis would be like being able to move things and control things with your mind. And I'm pretty sure Neo from The Matrix also had this power. So I rewatched The Matrix recently and I gotta say, Neo is a dumbass. So the whole thing in The Matrix was that Neo could bend reality because he knew that the Matrix wasn't real, right? And it was kind of like a lucid dream where you could control what happens. Then why does he fight using martial arts? Why doesn't he just teleport everywhere instead of having to run or fly? If he can put up like an invisible force field to stop bullets, why doesn't he use that same force field to like crush people like a bug? There's this Bollywood movie called Krish 2 where the villain gets telekinetic powers and he does kind of something genius with them. So he wants to fly, so he wraps himself around in a metal suit and controls that to fly. But if he can control the metal suit to fly, why can't he just control himself to fly as well? Not very smart, is he? Anyways, this goes in practical. Telepathy. At first, I thought this would be kind of useless since we have phones now and can communicate across the world instantly. But then I realized that every time the speed of communication in the world has gone up, like something huge has happened in the world. Like for example, phones. Before phones existed, you had to send an actual person to send your message across the world. And it would take like days or weeks or even months. And then there was the internet. That pretty much created an entire new dimension. And then there's things like Facebook, WhatsApp, or YouTube. They're all things that have had a huge impact on the world. And I'm not going to be the clown that bets against making communication faster. Also, imagine beaming ads straight into people's brains. You could sell so much stuff, or you would probably end up being cancelled because, that's kind of weird. I'm putting this in God tier. Mind control. You could control the entire world with this power. If you've seen The Loosh, you know what I'm talking about. Like, imagine going on TV and saying that you worship me now. The entire world would bow down to you. You would literally become a god. But then the thing is that everyone else becomes NPCs, and what type of life is that? This goes in godlike. Teleportation. Okay, straight up, this power is better than flying. Also, do your clothes teleport as well? Because if they don't, that's just kind of weird. If you could teleport other people as well, that's like an instant win in a fight. Like imagine you could just teleport a part of their body. So if you're in a fight or something, just touch their head and teleport the head away, but the body stays. So, or you could teleport them into the sun or the magma or the earth's core. It's like an instant win. This is godlike. Also, if you want to fly, you can just teleport yourself like this and move forward like 1 centimeter at a time. Cloning. So what do you do when the clones start saying that they're the real you and you're the clone? And what if they don't disappear like they do in Naruto? What do you do then? But I reckon it would be cool if the knowledge was shared between all the clones. Then you could live like multiple lives in just one. But on the off chance that the clone doesn't disappear like Naruto and they just stay there, this goes in scam tier. Creation. You are pretty much a god. You can make anything out of nothing. This is godlike. Invisibility. So what are you gonna do by becoming invisible? And your clothes don't become invisible either. Also, the way that light works, you need light to actually hit your retinas to see. And if you're invisible, that light will just go through you. So you would actually be blind. And you can't even sneak into the top secret stuff since they usually have infrared as well. This is in the gimmick tier. Phasing. Congratulations, doors don't exist for you. It would be pretty funny if your clothes didn't phase with you as well. So you just walk through a door and your clothes just stay behind and fall down. And if you're thinking, but what about Dobito? He was like the strongest person in Naruto. Who are you gonna fight, huh? Besides, I think if you join like a boxing thing and use those powers, you'd be kicked out. This goes in the gimmick tier. Shape-shifting. Sure, you could turn into a celebrity and have some fun for the day. But what are you going to do after that? Unless you're going to live the rest of your life being someone else, it's kind of useless. It doesn't really improve your day-to-day life. So this goes in the gimmick tier. Time travel. I've seen way too many TV shows and movies about this going wrong. But if this did work without any downsides, this would be godlike. You could keep resetting until you do something perfectly or get the thing you wanted. You would instantly become rich, since you could find out the lottery numbers, go back in time and buy that lottery ticket. But there's no way you're getting this power without any downsides. So I'm putting it in scam tier. Pause time. Okay, this power reminds me of an episode in The Simpsons where Bart and Milhouse found this watch that could stop time, and they pulled a bunch of pranks. And they were eventually caught, and their time machine watch thing broke. They were just stuck with the time paused and they aged like 30 years because it took them that long to fix the watch. I think I'll put this in the cool tier because how often are you going to need to pause time? Breathe underwater. Okay, this power is kind of stupid. What are you going to do? Live like a fish? And it's not like the fish can talk back, and if they could, what are you going to speak to a fish about? At least you can never drown. And you could do the magic trick where you put in that box of water. This is a gimmick. Laser vision. I reckon this is one of the coolest powers. But if this existed in real life, this would be one of the worst things you could have. Suppose you use it on someone. Congratulations, they're now cut in half and you're in jail. Also, what if your body isn't actually strong enough to withstand the laser? So you're just testing out your laser powers, you see a mirror and it goes back straight at you and you just die. I think an interesting limitation on this power would be that your energy comes from your calories. So every time you use the power, you would like get thinner. And if you wanted to use this a lot, you would need to fatten up before using it. This goes in the scam tier. Energy blast. This one is just cool. You could literally do the Kamehameha in real life. Cool tier. Change sizes. So you can turn super small or become a giant. So with super small, why would anyone want to become super small? It's kind of useless. And if you turn into a giant, you're just gonna break things and maybe even crush a few people on accident. I think the best case scenario for this power would be increasing your height by like a few inches so you look taller. So I think for that, it would go in practical tier. Personally, I would like to be around 6'2", which is around 2.5 inches more than what I am. Super senses. Imagine not being able to turn off this power and you just feel every single fiber of the blanket when you're trying to sleep. And you can't really relax because you're always sensing something. Also, what happens if you can sense it but you can't react on time? So you feel a truck coming towards you, but it's so fast that you can't even do anything. So you just wait to be crushed. This goes in scam. Super intelligence. The thing about super intelligence is that if you take a look at Superman, Lex Luthor has to do so many things and pull so many schemes, and Superman's just being himself and always beating him. So this superpower would help you find a way to do the things, but when there's other superpowers that can actually do the things straight up, this kind of falls flat. Also, why is everyone with super intelligence or a super high IQ always depressed? But I can see this being useful in your life, so I'm putting this in practical tier. X-ray vision. Unless you want to live the rest of your life as an airport security machine, this one's kinda useless. And using it the other way is just kinda sad and pathetic. This goes in scam tier. Super endurance. This would be great for athletes. I wonder if this also means that you don't really get tired, and because of that you can't like relax and fall asleep easily. But I reckon this would be in practical tier. Elemental. So being able to control the elements like they do in Avatar, like fire, water, earth and air. I'm so tempted to pick fire just so I can heat up my food while I'm eating it, and I don't have to go downstairs to heat up in the microwave. I wonder if in the Avatar they can also control the temperature of air, then wouldn't that just be fire? Yeah, because the waterbenders can turn the water into ice. So why can't the airbenders also control the temperature of the air? And if you can just have hot air, that's just fire pretty much. This goes in the cool tier. Super strength. This one's gonna piss a lot of people off. You know why? Because there's no supervillains in this world. And imagine you have super strength and you shake someone's hand, and their arm just rips off because you're so strong. Also, how are you meant to gain muscle with this normally? Are you gonna start lifting buses like Mr. Incredible? Imagine being super skinny but having the super strength superpower. That's just weird. This is a scam. Flight. So being able to fly. This has to be one of the coolest superpowers. Even though teleporting is better, this one would be super fun. Also, if you try flying in public, you'll instantly go viral. I wonder how long it would take for the government to start doing experiments on you. This goes in the cool tier. Portals. Okay, the difference between portals and teleportation is that you can actually set the portals up and everyone else can use them as well. With teleporting, you would have to actually teleport the people by yourself. Like, imagine setting up portals across the entire world. You could crush the airplane industry, and the shipping industry, and anything else related to transportation. Imagine putting a portal in every single person's house, and it could be like Amazon but faster. Also, it's pretty cool how Doctor Strange can use portals to cut things. I reckon because of how much impact this can have on the world, this goes in godlike. Stretching. So like being able to stretch like Luffy. Other than being able to get things that are kind of out of your reach, this is kind of useless. But what about Luffy? Look at him, he can stretch and he can punch people and oh my god, Gear 5 is so cool, Gear 2, wow. Okay, what are you gonna do? Are you really gonna go around punching people in the face just because you can stretch? I'm pretty sure even with that superpower, you'd be put in jail. And I imagine doing a rocket punch in boxing would be illegal. This is a gimmick. Photosynthesis. So you don't need to eat and you can live off sunlight. What if you hate going outside? And what if, since you're like a tree and you have to photosynthesize, you can't move while you're outside and eating, you know? Also, the sun is a deadly laser. I don't want to get wrinkles, and if I put on sunscreen, I can't get my energy, so I'm screwed either way. But since this is kind of useful, I guess this goes in practical tier. Resurrecting the dead. I wonder if you could resurrect Jesus or like a holy figure. Would they come up as skeletons? Okay, but what if you can resurrect them, but you can't control them? So you just have an army of zombies. I have never seen this going well in any TV show or movie. This goes in the scam tier. Weather control. Congratulations, you're an AC. Okay, I would use this power to make it snow in Australia at Christmas time. But imagine having to keep track of how your weather changes affect the entire world. I think this pretty practical tier actually. Super talent. So you could master any skill you want instantly. You want the skill of making money? Easy, done. You want the skill of knowing how to act? Done. You become a master at that instantly. You want to know how to sing, fly a plane? Done. It's like the Matrix where you just pick a skill and you instantly know it. This goes in godlike. Super luck. You never lose. Godlike. Out of all the powers, I would probably pick super talent or super luck. I know mind control is godlike, but I feel like I wouldn't really feel that good using it. And if you do end up controlling everybody in the world, what are you gonna do by yourself? It will become like a single player game then. So that's why I'm going with super talent. So if you had the chance, what superpower would you pick?